The remnant refuge in Edom. What the Bible says about it. Yahweh describes what happens in Edom in Isaiah 63, 1-6, regarding his return. Here's what the prophet speaking for Yahweh said. Who is this who comes from Edom, with garments of glowing colors from Bozrah? This one who is majestic in his apparel, marching in the greatness of his strength. It is I, the one who speaks in righteousness, mighty to save. Why is your garment red, and your garments like one who treads the winepress? I have trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples there was no one with me. I also trod them in my anger, and trampled them in my wrath, and their lifeblood is sprinkled on my garments, and I stained all my clothes. For the day of vengeance was in my heart, and my year of redemption has come. I looked, but there was no one to help, and I was astonished that there was no one to uphold. So my own arm brought salvation to me, and my wrath upheld me. I trampled down the peoples in my anger, and made them drunk with my wrath, and I poured out their lifeblood on the earth. Yahweh returns to this place in Edom. He comes to rescue his remnant who have been gathered there. What else in the Bible tells us more? In Micah 2:12-13, the prophet says, quoting Yahweh, I will certainly assemble all of you, Jacob. I will certainly gather the remnant of Israel. I will put them together like sheep in a fold, like a flock in the midst of its pasture. They will be noisy with people. The one who breaks through goes up before them. They break through, pass through the gate, and go out by it. So their king passes on before them, and the Lord at their head. He gathers his remnant Israel, which is made up of the children of Israel. Who is the children of Israel? In Jeremiah 23, we get further revelation of his remnant. Woe to the shepherds who are causing the sheep of my pasture to perish and are scattering them, declares Yahweh. Therefore, this is what Yahweh, the God of Israel, says concerning the shepherds who are tending my people. You have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not been concerned about them. Behold, I am going to call you to account for the evil of your deeds, declares Yahweh. Then I myself will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries where I have driven them, and bring them back to their pasture, and they will be fruitful and multiply. I will also raise up shepherds over them, and they will tend them, and they will not be afraid any longer, nor be terrified, nor will any be missing, declares Yahweh. Behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he will reign as king and act wisely, and do justice and righteousness in the land. In his days Judah will be saved, and Israel will live securely. And this is the name by which he will be called, Yahweh our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when they will no longer say, as the Lord lives, who brought the sons of Israel up from the land of Egypt, but as Yahweh lives, who brought up and led the descendants of his household of Israel back from the northland and from all the countries where I had driven them. Then they will live on their own soil. This declaration from Yahweh is powerful. He is saying that after his second coming, when he rescues his remnant from wicked shepherds, but that the former Exodus will not be remembered, but the second Exodus will be remembered. His plan to gather his remnant again out of the nations and bring them to Edom is the same wilderness area he took Moses and those from the first Exodus. Same area, different generation. Now what is the destiny of these redeemed chosen ones he calls his remnant? He gives us more revelation in Zephaniah 3:12 through 20. But I will leave among you a humble and lowly people, and they will take refuge in the name of Yahweh. The remnant of Israel will do no wrong and tell no lies, nor will a deceitful tongue be found in their mouths. For they will feed and lie down with no one to frighten them. Shout for joy, daughter of Zion. Shout in triumph, Israel. Rejoice in triumph with all your heart, daughter of Jerusalem. Yahweh has taken away his judgments against you. He has cleared away your enemies. The King of Israel, Yahweh, is in your midst. You will no longer fear disaster. On that day it will be said to Jerusalem, do not be afraid, Zion. Do not let your hands fall limp. Yahweh, your God, is in your midst, a victorious warrior. He will rejoice over you with joy. He will be quiet in his love. He will rejoice over you with shouts of joy. I will gather those who are worried about the appointed feast. They came from you, Zion. This disgrace of exile is a burden on them. Behold, I am going to deal at that time with all your oppressors. I will save those who limp and gathered these scattered. And I will turn their shame into praise and fame in all the earth. At that time I will bring you in, even at the time when I gather you together. Indeed, I will make you famous and praiseworthy among all the peoples on the earth. When I restore your fortunes before your eyes, says Yahweh. His remnant are protected from the onslaught of the Antichrist nations coming to the gathering place in Edom, where they hope to destroy his remnant forever. He promises this in this passage from Zephaniah. Many of its prophets talk about that day of the Lord. It is all about his return and his remnant who will be saved. Here is one more prophet, Joel. Joel 2:28 through 32. It will come about after this that I will pour out my spirit on all mankind, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. And even on the male and female servants I will pour out my spirit in those days. I will display wonders in the sky and on the earth, blood, fire, columns of smoke. The sun will be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and awesome day of the Lord Yahweh comes. And it will come about that everyone who calls on the name Yahweh will be saved. For on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be those who escape, just as Yahweh has said, even among the survivors whom Yahweh calls. There is coming supernatural deliverance from the enemies of Yahweh at his return. But who are these armies coming to destroy his remnant? That's talked about in Ezekiel 39:1 through 7, Gog and Magog. Here is what the prophet says. And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, this is what Yahweh says. Behold, I'm against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you around and lead you on a rope, take you up from the remotest parts of the north, and bring you against the mountains of Israel. Then I will strike your bow from your left hand and make your arrows fall from your right hand. You will fall on the mountains of Israel, you and all your troops, and the peoples who are with you. I will give you as food to every kind of predator, bird, and animal of the field. You will fall on the open field, for it is I who have spoken, declares Yahweh. And I will send fire upon Magog and those who inhabit the coastlands in safety, and they will know that I am Yahweh. And I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not allow my holy name to be profaned anymore. But the nations will know that I am Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, it is coming, and it shall be done, declares Yahweh. That is the day of which I have spoken. Gog and Magog are considered to be a joint army of Russia and China, or the East. They come with a remnant of the Arabs who were previously destroyed in Revelations 9 at the sixth trumpet. Yahweh says he will make known again his holy name, Yahweh. They profaned his name, and therefore he hid his name. But here he says he will not allow it to be profaned any longer. He will revive his name, Yahweh, amongst all the nations who are his remnant. Ezekiel continues in 39:21 through 29. And I will place my glory among the nations, and all the nations will see my judgment which I have executed, and my hand which I have laid on them. And the house of Israel will know that I am the Yahweh their God from that day onward. The nations will know that the house of Israel went into exile for their wrongdoing, because they were disloyal to me, and I hid my face from them. So I handed them over to their adversaries, and all of them fell by the sword. In accordance with their uncleanliness and their offenses, I dealt with them, and I hid my face from them. Therefore, this is what Yahweh says: Now I will restore the fortunes of Jacob, and have mercy on all the house of Israel. And I will be jealous for my holy name. They will forget their disgrace and all their treachery which they perpetrated against me, when they lived securely on their own land, with no one to make them afraid. When I bring them back from the peoples, and gather them from the lands of their enemies, then I shall show myself holy through them in the sight of the many nations. Then they will know that I am Yahweh their God, because I made them go into exile among the nations, and then I gathered them again to their own land, and I will leave none of them there any longer. I will not hide my face from them any longer, for I have poured out my spirit on the house of Israel, declares Yahweh. Yahweh kept his promise and revived his holy name, Yahweh. These two tribes represent the two sticks and his remnant, Jacob and Israel, which includes all other tribes. These tribes are nations. This is why his remnant must call him Yahweh. But there is a great reward for his remnant who call on his holy name. They will rule and reign with him on the earth for 1,000 years. These are his elect. These are the ones who do not take on the mark of the beast. In the book of Revelation, chapter 20, 4 through 6, Yahweh makes this very clear. Those who rule and reign with him are his remnant, and those who have been martyred since the beginning of time. Revelation 20, 4 through 6. Then I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony of Yeshua and because of the word of Yahweh. And also those who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their foreheads or on their hands. And they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were completed. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is the one who has a part in the first resurrection. Over these the second death has no power, but they will be priests of Yahweh and of Christ, and will reign with him for 1,000 years. So his remnant have a destiny, the ones who come out of the great tribulation, the ones who he has chosen and called to be his remnant, the ones who call him Yahweh, the ones who are sanctified sheep. If you are his remnant, you have a great future ahead of you. He will call you and gather you and make you ready. Are you his remnant? Blessings.